I am going to change language. We talked about what language, and you could either have it in very bad Norwegian or a reasonably good English dialect. So I went for the English. What I'm going to talk about today is our project, but put it within a field of social justice, because social justice is how we actually consider our research work. And I think often you get into it because you want to do something good. And we heard this morning about the point of doing research for good. But how do you actually ensure that you are doing good? And this is a sort of self-reflection on the project we want to do in regards to the social justice aspects of it. So basically within our project we're going to do an educational design research project. We want to develop some apps, particularly apps which promote children to want to talk about mathematical ideas in their home language at home and in Norwegian in the kindergartens. We know that the Rammeplan requires that children's mother tongue should be developed within kindergartens, but in situations where the teachers don't have that mother tongue in order to actually support the children, then what do you do? And one of our ideas is to use these apps as a way of causing a bridge between the kindergartens and the home, and seeing the parents as a resource which we can actually draw upon in developing these apps and getting feedback on these apps. So educational design-based research allows you to both have a practical outcome as well as a theoretical outcome. And so a lot of this research is new, and we need to have good theoretical understandings about what it is that we're actually developing. In order to get at the social justice aspects of it, we have been working with the ideas of Nancy Fraser, who is rethinking what social justice should be. And she has 3 dimensions to this: the economic dimension, the cultural dimension, and the political dimension. The what and maldistribution. So I was thinking today that we could say that HVL has provided an equal number of toilets for men and women, but whether that is actually a good distribution for a circumstance like this, and how it actually affects one group of people rather than another group of people detrimentally, is the things that you need to think about when you are distributing particular economic resources. The cultural dimension is about the who. Who is involved in this? What is their background which should be taken into consideration? And what are their aspirations? So what is it that they want from an education, for instance, for their children? The political dimension is about representation. Who is making decisions on whose behalf? And when we get into education, we actually think, well, the society is. The Rammeplan reflects society. But actually, not everyone gets to have a say on the development of the Rammeplan. There's good reasons for that. But there needs to be a recognition of that representation element. So, in regarding who we wanted to involve in our project, we needed to think about a combination of children, of parents, and of teachers working together. So those are the 3 pillars of the research work that we want to do. We are not going to develop these apps by ourselves. We are not going to be deciding on what it should be in the apps or how the children should actually respond to them. We need to engage all 3 groups consistently throughout that. And that's quite a challenge, and it was quite sort of reflective when we had a look at this. So what is the what of what we're doing here? What is the thing that we are thinking about distributing? And we've heard a lot about learning this morning, but the research work that we have been looking at is mathematics is particularly for very young children about problem solving. The problem solving that they basically do is within play. We actually need to take play as the fundamental starting point for thinking about this. And digital games allows us to actually think about play in all sorts of different ways. What are the affordances of these digital games which allow a different kind of play to occur? But still within these interactions of children, parents and teachers. It's not just an interaction between the child and the app. So we're now thinking about what we should do. How are we going to go about it? So we've got 3 sub-projects, and the first one is we want to identify the pedagogical strategies and the mathematics in digital games. What is which is already being done? And Dorota Lember's PhD has been developing a way of finding out from teachers and parents what their views of mathematics are as a starting point for discussions between parents and teachers, where mathematics is a vehicle for those discussions. And we want to build on that methodology for how to get at this sort of research. One of the things of seeing immigrant parents as a resource is that some of the research is actually saying that digital technologies are used much more within immigrant families than they are within people who come from the local community. And if you think about it, it is also because they are actually connecting to family and friends elsewhere. And that means that they have resources with app use that perhaps we can only find from talking to them and finding out their ideas on this. So there's a lot of making use of the resources which are already in the community, which is often disregarded. Our second project is to actually design and trial playful mathematical digital games with the parents and the kindergarten teachers in their interactions with the children. How are we going to do that? What we're hoping to do is to have what's known as a game jam. Yeah, I'm really out of my comfort zone, but there is inspiration from the Sami community in Finland who got game developers together with Sami communities to look at how you could actually produce digital games which were based on Sami concerns, Sami interests, things that Sami communities wanted games about, because they had particularly things which were not represented in the mainstream digital games. And I think that there is a way that we could actually involve parents and teachers with gamers to design games which would be of interest and locally based for particular circumstances. In Sweden, they have involved both children and kindergarten teachers into these games. So there are already some protocols for how to go about doing that. But I'm not going to say that's going to be terribly easy. But if we're really concerned with social justice, we need to make sure and double check that all the people who are involved in a meaningful way. That it's not us coming in and saying, try this, we think this is going to be a good idea. So the third stage that we have is, okay, now we've got our apps, now we've got the development. We do know that we need to do some support materials to go with that. If we want these ideas to spread, if we want the apps to be used in the playful, meaningful way that we have envisaged in our head, then there will be a need to actually produce some materials. But again, we need feedback from the children, the parents and the teachers about what kind of materials are needed, in what format and how to do it. So those are the 3 stages of it. And I think that Nancy Fraser's idea of keeping in mind always the what, the how and the who is really important when we're designing research studies to ensure that it's not just our understandings of what is good which is being promoted here. So thank you very much.